The rain always arrived before her memories did. Every afternoon, just before the clouds surrendered to the sky, she found herself standing by the cafe window with a cup of tea growing cold between her hands. Other people saw weather. She saw unfinished conversations, promises whispered beneath umbrellas, and the shape of a smile that time had never managed to erase. There was one rainy day she wished she could forget. It was also the only one she prayed she would never lose. The first drop struck the glass with a gentle tap. Then another. Within moments, the quiet streets dissolved beneath silver curtains of rain, blurring headlights into soft halos and turning the city into a watercolor of reflections. Pedestrians hurried beneath colorful umbrellas, while others laughed as they surrendered to the downpour. Evelyn Harper didn't move. She simply watched. Rain had always been honest. It never pretended to be anything else. It arrived when it wanted, cried without shame, and disappeared only after saying everything it needed to say. Perhaps that was why she loved it so much. Or perhaps it was because the rain had introduced her to the only man she had ever loved. His name was Liam Carter, and every storm still carried a fragment of his voice. The bell above the cafe door chimed. A gust of cool air swept inside, carrying the earthy scent of wet pavement and blooming jasmine. A tall man stepped through the doorway, droplets sliding from his dark coat as he carefully folded a navy blue umbrella. He looked around apologetically before smiling at the customers whose tables he had accidentally splashed. It wasn't a dazzling smile. It was the kind that quietly earned trust. His eyes lingered on the handwritten sign near the counter. Coffee tastes better when it rains. He chuckled. So that's why everyone looks happier today. The barista laughed. Or maybe we're just pretending. Their conversation lasted only seconds, but somehow Evelyn found herself smiling into her teacup. She quickly looked away before he noticed. She wasn't someone who invited strangers into her life. Not anymore. The years had taught her that people rarely stayed as long as they promised. Outside, thunder rolled softly across the sky. The man ordered a black coffee and, finding every table occupied, glanced around the room. Only one empty chair remained, the one across from Evelyn. He approached slowly. "Would you mind if I sat here? I promise not to interrupt your peace." She hesitated. It wasn't the question that unsettled her. It was how carefully he asked it. "As long as you're comfortable with silence," she replied. His smile returned. "I've always thought silence tells better stories than small talk." That unexpected answer earned him the smallest laugh. For the first time in months, the sound surprised even her. He introduced himself simply. "Liam. Evelyn." Their names lingered between them, like the first notes of a song neither of them yet recognized. For several minutes, neither spoke. The rain filled the spaces words usually occupied. Liam pulled a weathered notebook from his satchel and began sketching the view beyond the window. His pencil moved confidently, capturing reflections, umbrellas, and the blurred outlines of strangers crossing the street. Curiosity eventually overcame Evelyn's reserve. "You're an artist." He shook his head. "A photographer." She glanced at the notebook. "That doesn't look like photography. It starts with paying attention." He looked out toward the rain-soaked street. "Sometimes I sketch a place before I photograph it. It forces me to notice details I'd otherwise miss." She considered his words. "What kind of details?" "The ones people forget." He pointed toward the window. That elderly couple sharing one umbrella. The little girl trying to catch raindrops with both hands. The man pretending he isn't cold because he gave his jacket to someone else. He paused. And the woman who has been staring at the rain for almost 20 minutes like she's waiting for it to answer a question. Evelyn blanked. "I didn't realize I was that obvious." "You weren't." His voice remained gentle. "I just notice people." Something in that sentence settled over her like a warm blanket on a cold evening. Not because it was charming, because it sounded true. For the next hour, they spoke in fragments rather than conversations, about favorite novels, forgotten train stations, music that sounded better on rainy nights, and why coffee somehow tasted richer when the sky was gray. When the rain finally softened to a drizzle, Liam stood and reached for his umbrella. "I hope the weather gives us another excuse to meet." Evelyn almost answered with polite indifference. Instead, she surprised herself. "I think it will." Neither of them knew then that the rain had already begun writing the story that would change both of their lives, or that one storm, years later, would ask them to decide whether love could survive even the heaviest downpour. The rain had almost stopped by the time Evelyn stepped outside, leaving the city wrapped in the fresh scent of wet earth and blooming jasmine. Tiny droplets clung to the branches lining the sidewalk, catching the fading afternoon light like scattered diamonds. She expected the man with the navy umbrella to be gone. Instead, Liam stood beneath the awning, camera hanging from his shoulder as he watched a pair of sparrows splash in a puddle. "I thought photographers chased sunsets," she said. He turned with an easy smile. "Sometimes puddles tell better stories." She laughed softly. "You always answer like that." Only when someone asks interesting questions. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. The silence no longer felt awkward. It felt comfortable, as if the rain had introduced them long before they had exchanged names. As they began walking in the same direction, their footsteps echoed gently along the rain-darkened pavement. "You come to that cafe often?" Liam asked. "When I need to think." "And does it help?" "Not always." "What helps then?" Evelyn looked toward the cloudy sky. "Time." Liam nodded, as though he understood without asking why. They reached an old bookstore tucked between two brick buildings. The display window held faded classics, handwritten bookmarks, and a tiny wooden sign that read, "Some stories find you when you're ready." Evelyn smiled. "I've loved this place since I was a teenager." Liam pushed the door open. "Then show me your favorite shelf." Inside, the warm scent of paper and cedar wood wrapped around them. The owner greeted Evelyn by name before returning to his novel behind the counter. "You really do come here often," Liam whispered. She shrugged. "Books don't ask difficult questions. They ask the hardest ones." She looked at him, surprised. "You read." "Too much." He reached for a worn novel from the shelf. "I think every person leaves fingerprints on the stories they love." She tilted her head. "What do mine say?" "That you're still searching for something." The words settled quietly between them. She could have denied it. Instead, she looked away. After browsing for nearly an hour, they left with one book each. Outside, the clouds had begun to part, revealing streaks of golden light across the evening sky. Liam raised his camera. "May I?" Evelyn frowned. "Photograph me." "Not exactly." He pointed toward the puddle at their feet. "Your reflection." She looked down. The sky, the bookstore, and her silhouette shimmered together in the water. He clicked the shutter once. "Perfect." "You didn't even check it." "I don't need to." "That's confident." "No," he said quietly. "It's faith." As they continued walking, conversation came more easily. They discovered they both loved rainy mornings, handwritten letters, old songs, and the comforting sound of trains disappearing into the distance. The city around them seemed to fade into the background. For the first time in years, Evelyn caught herself talking without measuring every sentence. And for the first time since they'd met, Liam stopped taking photographs. He realized there were moments too precious to experience from behind a lens. When they reached the bridge overlooking the river, the last traces of sunlight painted the water in soft shades of gold and silver. "It's beautiful," Evelyn whispered. Liam wasn't looking at the river. "I know." She turned, following his gaze, and for the briefest instant their eyes met. Neither of them looked away. The breeze carried the lingering scent of rain between them, and somewhere in the distance, church bells marked the passing hour. Neither noticed. Some moments quietly refused to be measured by clocks. As dusk settled over the city, they paused at the corner where their paths diverged. "So," Liam said, slipping his hands into his coat pockets, "do we wait for another rainy day?" Evelyn smiled, a real smile this time, one that reached her eyes. "I don't think we have to." A flicker of hope crossed his face. Then, coffee Saturday. She pretended to consider it. "Only if you promise not to analyze me through puddles." He laughed. "No promises." She shook her head. "I suppose I'll take that risk." As she walked away, she felt something unfamiliar, a lightness she hadn't carried in years. Behind her, Liam watched until she disappeared around the corner. Then he reached into his satchel, pulled out his weathered notebook, and wrote a single sentence before closing it again. Some people arrive quietly and somehow change the sound of the rain. Evelyn didn't know it yet. Neither did Liam. But their first meeting was already becoming a memory they would return to for the rest of their lives. The following Saturday arrived beneath a sky that couldn't decide whether to rain or shine. Thin clouds drifted lazily overhead, allowing ribbons of sunlight to spill across the streets before hiding them again. Evelyn reached the cafe 5 minutes early. She told herself it was because she disliked being late. The truth was far less convincing. She had changed her sweater twice before leaving home. When the familiar bell above the cafe door rang, she looked up instinctively. Liam entered carrying no umbrella this time, only a camera slung across his shoulder and a small brown paper bag in one hand. "I wasn't sure what kind of books you liked," he said after greeting her, "so I brought pastries instead." She raised an eyebrow. "That's your backup plan." It seemed safer than guessing your favorite author. She laughed. "I appreciate the strategy." Inside the bag were 2 warm cinnamon rolls from a neighborhood bakery. "They're best when shared," Liam said. Or so the baker insisted. They settled into the same table, by the window, as if it had quietly become theirs. Outside, children chased pigeons across the square, while a violinist played a gentle melody beneath the old clock tower. "So," Evelyn asked, stirring her tea, "what made you become a photographer?" Liam rested his fingertips around his coffee cup. "My mother. She waited. When I was 12, she gave me a disposable camera before a family trip. She told me photographs weren't for perfect moments, they were for honest ones." He smiled faintly. "I've been searching for honest moments ever since." "And have you found them?" He looked directly at her. "A few." His answer lingered longer than either of them expected. Trying to break the silence, Evelyn reached for one of the cinnamon rolls. "You know," she said, "I almost didn't come today." "Really?" "I wasn't sure if meeting someone I'd only known for an hour was a good idea." "And now?" She considered the question. "I'm glad I ignored myself." Liam's grin widened. "I was hoping you'd say that." Hours slipped by unnoticed. They wandered through a weekend street market, stopping to admire handmade pottery, old vinyl records, and watercolor paintings of rainy landscapes. At one stall, an elderly artist offered them a sketchbook. "Draw something you'll remember," he said. Liam handed the pencil to Evelyn first. "I can't draw." "Neither can memories," he replied. "They just try." She smiled and made a tiny, imperfect umbrella in one corner of the page. Liam added a single raindrop beside it. "It's unfinished," she observed. "Exactly." "Why?" "Because stories are better when there's room for tomorrow." As they continued walking, the first cool breeze of the afternoon swept through the market. Evelyn looked upward. "I think it's going to rain." Liam followed her gaze. "I was hoping it would." She laughed. You really do love the rain. I don't think it's the rain. What is it then? He hesitated before answering. I think I like who people become when they stop trying to avoid it. For reasons she couldn't explain, Evelyn felt those words settle deep inside her. Maybe, she thought, she had spent too many years carrying an umbrella over a heart that needed to feel the rain. Far above them, dark clouds slowly gathered, promising that before the day was over, the city would once again be washed clean. And neither of them realized that every shared smile, every quiet conversation, and every step they took together was laying the foundation for a love that would one day be tested by the very storms that had first brought them together. The rain arrived just as they reached the old stone bridge. At first, it was only a whisper against the river, a few scattered drops that rippled the calm surface. Then the clouds opened, and a gentle shower drifted over the city like a curtain of silver. Neither of them ran. Instead, Liam looked at Evelyn with a grin. So, do we finally share an umbrella? She glanced at the folded umbrella tucked beneath his arm. You brought one after all. I've learned that weather and life have one thing in common. And what's that? They rarely go according to plan. She smiled. I'll remember that. He opened the umbrella, and they stepped beneath it together. It was just large enough to keep them mostly dry, forcing them to walk closer than either had expected. Their shoulders brushed. Neither moved away. The streets around them emptied as people hurried toward cafés and bus stops, but Evelyn found herself wishing the rain would last a little longer. For the first time in years, she wasn't trying to escape it. She was simply enjoying the company beside her. They wandered without choosing a destination. The city looked transformed beneath the rain. Brick buildings glowed with deeper colors, flower boxes overflowed with tiny droplets, and every puddle reflected a different piece of the gray sky. Liam occasionally stopped to take photographs. Not of famous landmarks, not of crowded streets, but of small moments. A child laughing while jumping into a puddle. An elderly man carefully covering a stray cat with his coat. Two sisters sharing a bright yellow umbrella. You really do notice everything, Evelyn said. I try. Doesn't it become exhausting? He lowered his camera. Sometimes. Then why keep looking? He thought for a moment. Because beautiful moments disappear whether someone notices them or not. His voice grew softer. But when you photograph them, they stay with someone. Evelyn looked down at the rain, dancing around their shoes. I wish memories worked that way. Liam didn't ask what she meant. He sensed there was a story hidden behind those words. One she wasn't ready to tell. The rain became heavier. They ducked beneath the awning of a tiny flower shop, where colorful bouquets filled the entrance with the fragrance of fresh roses and lavender. An elderly florist smiled warmly. You two look like you've been walking through a romance novel. Evelyn immediately looked away, embarrassed. Liam laughed. We're just hiding from the rain. The florist winked. That's how many love stories begin. Before either of them could respond, she handed Evelyn a single white daisy. It's a gift. I can't accept this. Oh, but you must. The florist smiled knowingly. Flowers are happiest when someone smiles because of them. Evelyn accepted the flower carefully. She hadn't been given flowers in years. Not since. She stopped herself before finishing the thought. Liam noticed the sudden change in her expression, but chose silence over curiosity. Sometimes kindness meant waiting. As evening approached, the rain softened into a light drizzle. They found themselves sitting on a wooden bench overlooking the river, listening to the quiet rhythm of water against the shore. I have a question, Liam said. She turned toward him. What makes you happiest? She answered almost immediately. The sound of rain on a rooftop. He smiled. I should have guessed. What about you? He looked toward the river instead of answering right away. When someone feels safe enough to be completely themselves. She studied his face. There was no trace of humor. Only honesty. That's a very specific answer. I think the world asks people to pretend too much. And you don't. I used to. What changed? He looked at her. I'm still figuring that out. Something in his eyes made her heartbeat quicken. She wasn't imagining it anymore. Whatever this was between them, it was quietly becoming something neither of them had planned. As twilight settled over the city, they walked toward the train station where their paths would separate once again. Neither seemed eager to say goodbye. So, Liam said, breaking the silence, same cafe next weekend. Evelyn folded the daisy, carefully, inside the pages of her new book. I think we're becoming predictable. Is that a bad thing? She smiled. Not at all. A train whistle echoed in the distance. She stepped onto the platform, then turned back. Liam. Yes. Thank you. For what? She searched for the right words. For making rainy days feel different. For a moment, he simply stood there, letting her words settle into his heart. Then he answered with the quiet sincerity that had become so unmistakably his. No, Evelyn. He smiled gently. Thank you for reminding me that sometimes the most beautiful photographs are the ones we never take. As the train pulled away, Evelyn watched him grow smaller through the rain-speckled window. Without realizing it, her fingers rested against the pressed white daisy tucked safely inside her book. She had the strange feeling that this flower would become more than a keepsake. It would become the beginning of a memory she would spend the rest of her life trying not to lose. By the time the following weekend arrived, the city had settled into a rhythm of warm mornings and rainy evenings. The forecast predicted clear skies, yet Evelyn slipped her umbrella into her bag anyway. Not because she expected rain, because she hoped for it. When she reached the cafe, Liam was already there, seated by the window with 2 steaming cups waiting on the table. You remembered, she said. I remembered your order after hearing it only once, he replied with a playful smile. I figured that earned me a few points. She laughed as she sat down. It earns you exactly 1. Only 1. I'm saving the rest for consistency. He placed a hand, dramatically, over his heart. Challenge accepted. Their conversations had become effortless. They no longer searched for topics. One memory naturally led to another. One question opened the door to 10 more. They spoke about childhood dreams. Liam confessed he had once wanted to be an astronaut. I thought the stars held all the answers, he admitted. And now, I think people do. Evelyn smiled. That's a much more complicated universe. It certainly is. When it was her turn, she hesitated. I wanted to write stories. What stopped you? She traced the rim of her cup with her fingertip. I convinced myself no one would want to read them. Liam leaned forward. That's fear talking. It sounds a lot like me. Maybe you've been listening to fear for too long. His words lingered long after the conversation moved on. After leaving the cafe, they wandered through the city's botanical gardens. The flowers were in full bloom, filling the air with the sweet fragrance of roses, lavender, and jasmine. Near the center of the garden stood a small wooden gazebo. It overlooked a quiet pond where white lilies floated peacefully across the water. This is my favorite place, Liam said. You've been here before. Whenever I feel stuck. She looked around. I can understand why. The world seemed quieter there, as if even time respected the silence. Liam lifted his camera. May I take your picture this time? Evelyn instinctively shook her head. I don't photograph well. I didn't ask if you were photogenic. She frowned. I asked if I could photograph you. There was a difference. She noticed it immediately. Slowly, she nodded. He didn't ask her to pose. He didn't tell her to smile. Instead, he waited. She turned toward the pond, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear as the breeze stirred the trees. Click. The shutter sounded only once. "That's it," she asked. "That's it. You only took one." "I only needed one." Curious, she stepped beside him to look at the screen. The photograph stole her breath. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't looking at the camera. She was simply watching the lilies drift across the pond. For the first time in years, she looked peaceful. "I don't remember feeling like that," she whispered. Liam looked at the image, then at her. "You didn't have to remember it. You captured it." Clouds began gathering again. Evelyn glanced upward and laughed. "You planned this. I wish I had that kind of influence." The first raindrops fell moments later. Instead of opening the umbrella, they remained beneath the gazebo, listening to the soft rhythm of rain tapping against the wooden roof. "It always finds us," Evelyn said. "The rain." She nodded. "Maybe it doesn't find us," Liam replied. "Maybe it follows us because we're paying attention." She smiled. "Everything becomes a photograph with you." "Not everything." "What doesn't?" He met her eyes. "Moments I'd rather remember with my heart." A comfortable silence settled between them. The rain blurred the world beyond the gazebo until it felt as though they were the only two people left in the city. Evelyn's heart beat a little faster. Not because of the closeness, because of how natural it felt. As the shower eased, they began the walk back. Near the garden gate, Liam stopped. "I have something for you." From his backpack, he carefully removed a small notebook bound in dark blue cloth. "The pages are blank," Evelyn observed. "They're supposed to be." She looked at him, puzzled. "You told me you wanted to write stories." "I did. So write one." She ran her fingers over the cover. "I wouldn't know where to begin." Liam smiled. "Begin with something true." She looked down at the notebook, then back at him. "And if the truth is messy, the best stories usually are." She held the notebook close to her chest. It wasn't an expensive gift. Yet somehow it felt more precious than anything she had received in years. As they parted at the corner where their paths diverged, Evelyn turned back once. Liam was still standing there, hands in his pockets, smiling as the last raindrops slipped from the trees. For the first time since they had met, she wondered if this growing affection was becoming something deeper. And somewhere inside Liam, a quiet realization had already taken root. He was no longer looking forward to rainy days because of the weather. He was looking forward to them because they always seemed to lead him back to Evelyn. Autumn arrived quietly, dressing the city in shades of amber and gold. The rain became colder, gentler, as though it too had grown older. Months had passed since Liam and Evelyn first shared an umbrella outside the little cafe. Between them now lived countless memories, letters tucked inside books, photographs of forgotten streets, late-night conversations that lasted until sunrise, and promises whispered beneath rain-soaked skis. Yet life, as it always does, asked something difficult of them. Liam had been offered the opportunity he had dreamed about for years, a year-long photography fellowship overseas. It was the kind of chance that came only once in a lifetime. Evelyn smiled when he told her. She congratulated him. She even hugged him. But when she walked home that evening, the rain hid the tears she refused to let him see. She loved him too much to ask him to stay. And Liam loved her too much to ask her to wait. The day before his flight, the forecast predicted heavy rain. Neither of them mentioned it. At exactly 4 o'clock, they met where everything had begun, the little cafe with the rain-streaked window. Nothing had changed. The same wooden tables. The same warm light. The same handwritten sign. Coffee tastes better when it rains. Only they had changed. They sat together without speaking, knowing that some moments become smaller when covered with too many words. Finally, Liam reached into his bag. I've been carrying this for months." He handed Evelyn a weathered notebook. Inside were photographs. Not famous landmarks. Not breathtaking landscapes. Just moments. Her reading beside the cafe window. Her laughing in the botanical garden. Her reflection in a puddle. The pressed white daisy inside her book. The empty bench where they had shared silence. Beneath every photograph was a handwritten sentence. This is the day she forgot to be afraid. She smiles before she realizes she's smiling. Some people don't enter your life loudly. They simply become part of your favorite memories. The final page held no photograph. Only a letter. If love could be measured, I would count it in rainy afternoons. If happiness could be photographed, it would always look a little like you. Wherever life takes me, every storm will remind me that the best thing I ever found wasn't a perfect picture. It was a person. By the time Evelyn finished reading, tears blurred every word. "I don't want this to be goodbye," she whispered. Liam gently took her hands. "Then don't think of it that way." "How should I think of it?" As the next chapter. Outside, rain began to fall. Without saying a word, they stepped into it. Neither reached for an umbrella. They walked through the downpour exactly as they had on the day they first met, slowly, side by side, letting the rain soak their coats and wash away every fear they had carried. When they reached the old stone bridge, Liam stopped. "Do you remember what you told me the first time we walked together?" Evelyn smiled through her tears. "I think it's going to rain." "And do you remember what I said?" "I was hoping it would." He laughed softly. "I still am." She wrapped her arms around him. This time, there were no promises that life would be easy. No impossible vows that they would never hurt. Only honesty. "I love you," Evelyn said. The words came quietly, but they carried everything her heart had been holding back. Liam rested his forehead against hers. "I've loved you since the day you laughed into your teacup because of something I said." She laughed again through her tears. "You noticed that?" "I notice everything." Then, beneath the same rain that had introduced them months before, they shared a kiss that felt less like an ending and more like coming home. A year later, the cafe door opened. The familiar bell chimed. Evelyn looked up from the notebook she had finally begun filling with stories. Standing in the doorway, carrying the same worn camera and the same warm smile, was Liam. He looked older by only a year. She looked happier than she had ever been. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. He crossed the room. She stood. They embraced as if no distance had ever existed. Outside, rain began falling once again, tapping softly against the cafe windows. Liam glanced toward the sky and smiled. "I think the rain missed us." Evelyn slipped her hand into his. "Maybe it was simply waiting until we were together again." They stepped outside without opening an umbrella. Some people spend their lives trying to avoid the rain. They had learned that the rain was never the thing to fear. It was simply the sky's way of reminding them that even after the darkest clouds, love still had a way of finding its way home. And from that day forward, whenever the rain began to fall, they never hurried to find shelter. They simply walked together, hand in hand, grateful that what they once believed would be their last rainy day had become the beginning of every beautiful day that followed.